Okay, well, the semi-truck figured its life out, and so we are continuing along. I love how the front camera shows. It helps out. Now this right here will show us the suspension, how comfortable it is. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's we're going to be going over the all-new Mercedes-Benz GLE 350. First and foremost, though, a huge shout out and link to the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington, Utah for me sometime with this GLE 350. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. If you have any questions or need any help, just ask for Colby. And if you guys don't know, the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington is a one-price store, so they'll make your buying experience super easy and straightforward. And then on a side note, if you want to save time on the next time purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 20 around town, and then 24 on the highway, with power outputs being 255 horsepower and then 273 pound-feet of torque. Before we go over the front end, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. Starting with the hood, we have these super distinctive lines there with the GLE, which I've always been a huge fan of. And of course, we got the little itty bitty Mercedes logo. Coming down below, if you guys are wondering, this color is called G Manufacturer Cardinal Red Metallic. Sorry if I butchered the first part of that, but anyways, gigantic Mercedes-Benz logo front and center. And then you guys can see with the grille pattern, I think that looks fantastic. You got the LED lights there, and then you can see here with the parking sensors at the bottom. Sorry about my shadow, but when you pull this all together, it looks good. Coming around the side here, our tire and wheel setup is 275/50/20 in the front and over in the rear as well. And then you guys can see here with the wheel design, you've got like the silver there on top and the black below it. And yes, this does have the AMG wheels, hence the AMG badge. And then when we look at the full side profile here, you guys can see we've got pretty prominent fender flares there. We do have these side steps, which have the little grip markers, which help with getting in and out without slipping. And then chrome there on the door handles. And then notice the trim around the windows, all blacked out. We've got those roof rails at the top, and I like how this looks. Here's our key fob for the GLE. We've got the lock function there at the top, the unlock, the opening here for the hatch, and well, that's all she wrote. So there you go. Popping inside, you guys can see we've got a cargo cover built in from the factory. We've got a little netting here with our first aid kit, and overall storage space here in the SUV is fantastic. And the benefit of the SUV over the coupe is, well, you've got a higher roof line, so it helps out quite a bit. And for those of you wondering, we do have a spare tire underneath the loading floor. When you are done with the rear, you can press this to lock it, or you can press that to lower it down but not lock it, basically. Pretty fun taillights here with the GLE. Definitely love that for the turn signal, and then pretty normal badging on the back. We do have parking sensors here at the bottom. And then look at the covers there for the exhaust tips. And then got a receiver hitch in the center. And then here is the rest of the rear, and this is just my personal opinion. I definitely do prefer the styling here on this SUV more than the coupe styling you can get with the GLE. But let me know which one you guys like better. This does have keyless entry. Taking a look at the door panel, we've got really nice leather trim all over with the contrasted stitching. And I love the wood trim added to that. Speaker for the Burmester sound system. And then look at the finish like on the door handle, window control. That's great. We have these leather seats here perforated in the center portion. Legroom back here is fantastic. You got this little netting here. We've got some vents here in the back, and then you can see like the charging ports down below, and then storage. And then headroom's also good. We, of course, do have a cup holder armrest. That's the most important thing ever. And I do want to mention, these seats are incredibly comfortable. Really nice leather trim here with the front door panel, just like the rear, as you can see all over. All of our window controls, we've got our mirror adjustments. The mirrors do power fold in. And then notice we've got 3 different settings for the memory seats. All of your seat adjustments, and oh, there's quite a bit that you can adjust there. Heated and cooled seat functionality. And then this is actually so you can adjust the passenger seat from the driver's seat. So you select that, and then you can use your adjustments to adjust the passenger side. Another speaker for that Burmester sound system. Blind spot monitoring for the mirror. And then the front seats are just as nice and leathery as the back seats, as you can see. And then you do have your lumbar right there. Pretty normal pedals down below. And then you can see we've got our light control just up above with like the parking brake. And then more of that wood trim than leather trim on the dash. So with the steering wheel, we've got really nice wood trim here at the top and at the bottom, and then leather trim here on the side. We've got paddle shifters here on the back for that 9-speed automatic. Controls here for like the center infotainment screen is on this side, and then you got your volume, voice command controls for the center screen right there, and then your cruise control. Turn signal / windshield wiper stock, and then we got a column shifter. We've got this full digital gauge cluster here in the center, and you can literally scroll through so many different bits of info with all 3 of these little tabs, as you can see. So I think that's pretty fancy all in itself, but then you can also scroll through all these different menus, so it kind of doubles as like a second infotainment system in a sense. And then on top of that, you can also change the design of the gauge cluster, which is cool. So we've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel. We have that bird's eye view as well. And notice I can change the viewpoints, full 360 camera system. And when you go from reverse to drive, it'll go from the backup camera to the forward camera, which is pretty cool. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system itself, first off, it is a touchscreen, but again, I can control it with the steering wheel, just like that. I can also control it with the keypad down below that I'll show you a little bit later. And yes, it is connected to the gauge cluster. It's the Mercedes mega screen. But some important stuff like the comfort tab you can see with the seat kinetics, and then you got the ambient lighting, which is another thing that Mercedes is kind of known for. But overall, great system, easy to use. We also have some drive modes we can go through with it. So we've got a sport individual on one side, and then we have a comfort eco off-road mode on the other side. We've got leather trim all over the dash, as you can see, and then look at the wood trim down below, and then we've got the vents there in the center. We've got our dual zone climate controls here, physical buttons, and look at the ambient lighting. That's pretty neat. Now we've got this really nice tab that you can pull back, and it'll reveal wireless phone charging pad. You got some USB ports. We have our cup holders right here that are cooled and heated. Like, that's just a nice luxury feature, and more ambient lighting. We have our GLE grab handles here with the ambient lighting around, and I love how they've got leather trim all over. So we've got controls for like the drive mode, select some shortcut buttons for different functions within the infotainment system. This is that little control pad. So again, if you don't use the touchscreen or the steering wheel control, and it does have a wrist rest, which, yeah, and there's that little random thing. We do have a center console here, which, yeah, good storage space. Got some nice leather trim on the outside, and it's locked. Well, that sucks. We've got controls here for the sunroof. This does have a full panoramic sunroof here at the top. And this is definitely a lot bigger than the sunroof in the coupe, because I just reviewed a coupe before this, so something to know. Here's our window sticker for this GLE 350. You can see the standard equipment that this has. Base MSRP $60,200. And then all the optional equipment on this. And then there's your total MSRP, $73,000. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood. Both the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring. Then throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, we're just going to set right off. I'm going to be doing a slightly different driving route. I have a pretty packed day today when it comes to filming. And so I can't sit at the stoplight here for 20 minutes and wait for it to turn green for me to be able to drive. But first off, seat comfort is really good with the GLE. I think that's something that is a big plus with this. Of course, as soon as I start to do the driving portion, we have a semi-truck that needs to get in here. So once this thing's done backing up, I'll get back to you guys. Okay, well, the semi-truck figured its life out, and so we are continuing along. I love how the front camera shows. It helps out. Now this right here will show us the suspension, how comfortable it is. Yeah, nice and squishy. So if you guys don't know, going down that little driveway dip, if a vehicle doesn't have good suspension, it'll kind of like hit hard. I know that because I've driven so many cars up and down that driveway that I've had to test from other manufacturers. So it's just something to note. Torque's actually pretty good. Now we'll actually pop it into the sport mode. There we go, sport mode. And yeah, transmission is really responsive too. This is a dead end here. This is why I'm using this. Yeah, I mean, it just like, it's pretty snappy. I'll turn around and then I'll get you guys another acceleration, then we'll kind of sum things up. Okay, so let's get another acceleration here. Woo! I mean, it moves. That 4-cylinder moves, that's for sure. I do like the steering. It's light, but it's actually pretty direct. Usually with SUVs that are bigger like this, you usually don't have very direct steering, so I'm surprised by that. So overall, you know, as a luxury car, and I've done some testing with the GLE in the past, it drives really well. It's really comfortable, and I'm starting to kind of think that the E-Class might be the Mercedes-Benz sweet spot, because once you go up to S-Class, like, it's super luxurious, don't get me wrong, but it's like almost over the top luxurious. And then, you know, C-Class is really good now, like a GLC or just the C-Class sedan. But this, like, E-Class, it's kind of like in between, where like you get a little bit more luxury than the C-Class, but you're not so soft in luxury that it's not really like a fun car to drive anymore, if that makes sense. Because like the S-Class, it's comfortable, but I wouldn't call it like a driver's car. Let me know what you guys think about the new GLE 350. I think it's pretty snazzy. That's because something's up with our video on this GLE 350. I just realized you guys probably can't see me because of the sun. But anyways, a huge shout out and thank you to the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington for giving me some time with this GLE. Check out the inventory in the description down below. Ask for Colby if you have any questions. I'll see ya.